Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. We are blessed today with Katie White on the show. Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to see you.
Awesome. So, for all our loan officer friends that are listening today, would you mind giving us just a little bit of a breakdown, like what company do you work for? What do your volumes look like now? All of that?
Yes, absolutely. So, my name is Katie White, and I'm located in Austin, Texas. I have been in the mortgage world for about 10 years, and we closed right around 200 loans last year at around, I think it was 68 million. And the production I'm set up where it's just under my name, and I'm really the only loan officer per se in the branch, but I'm a producing branch manager for Fairway Independent Mortgage.
That is amazing. And those are incredible numbers. We were chatting a little bit offline before the show, and when you first got into the mortgage business, like when you joined the Freedom Club with Carl, what did your production look like then?
When I joined the Freedom Club, I was closing around 2 loans a month, 2 to 3, and I just had a burning desire to do more. Once I met Carl and his team, they made it look like I could do it, and they believed in me and spoke into me, and that really helped me along the way too. And I've been part of his group for almost 7 years now.
That is incredible. Well, we cannot recommend them enough. It's an incredible group over there. So I'm interested in kind of like the steps that you took to get from where you were to where you are today. Can you give our listeners like a breakdown of what the business looks like as far as like where do you get your business from? How much is referrals? How much is past customers? What does that look like?
Yes, and I think along the way too is I transitioned into running a branch, which has a lot more responsibilities, so that can affect some of the business per se for a little bit. But a bulk of my business is really my realtor referral partners, and I also am part of a BNI group, and we have become a showcase chapter. And I would say a good 30% of my business year after year comes from that group as well, because it's like an extended family in Salesforce. So I feel like it's important to plug into different networking activities like that to continue your growth as well.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about realtors and how you're tracking those as well. But BNI is not often one that I hear of, or at least successfully. Um, so would you like how long have you been part of the BNI, and what's your strategy in that group to get as many referrals as you get?
I think I was part of the pre-course, so I helped found that chapter, and we're just about to hit our 5 year mark. But one thing is they truly became a family to me. And so I often talk about in my weekly ask would be, almost like going to the doctor. If you want your friends or family to get a second opinion of what they're looking at when they're looking at their mortgage, or if you yourself want a second opinion, that was my ask in the beginning, just to make them more comfortable with me and see that I truly cared about them. Maybe I didn't always close that loan, but sometimes it was far enough along where I could help the other loan officer close that loan. And because I did that, they continued to send referrals back my way.
That's amazing. Now, you mentioned that that was your ask at the beginning. Has that refined over time? Like, what's your ask now?
My ask now is for them to always be thinking of me, and keywords are, oh, I'm so sick of paying rent, or oh, I just want this dream house, or I was really hoping for a house on the water, and different things when they around here, a lot of people are remodeling and pulling cash out to do pools. And so I just closed 3 cash out refinances for my chapter in the last month alone.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so funny that oftentimes with I don't want to call it discretionary spending, but that's not something that they um, necessarily need to do.
Right.
But when you talk about it and you're like, hey, this is how this makes sense, and people immediately go, oh, wait, maybe I don't need to wait 2 years to get the pool. Maybe I can get the pool now. But it's almost like it's so funny because in the mortgage business we always say we're not selling running shoes or we're not selling pencils. It's not like you can create desire for somebody to go get a mortgage. But when it comes to cash out, you really kind of can just by telling those stories.
Exactly. And you just help put people in a better position, especially if someone just started a business. In BNI, a lot of small businesses are starting up. Well, what if we can wipe away all their debt, put them in a better position, and take that stress off them while they're growing their business? I'm
That's
just a no-brainer in many areas.
absolutely. Now, so I'm newer to BNI, or I should say, I've never been completely in a BNI. I've spoken at them, but I've never been part of one. Um, what does that look like in a like? What's the time commitment? What does it take in order for a loan officer to really put that into their marketing strategy?
For me, I mean, in the beginning, it was more time consuming because we were putting our chapter together. You're getting to know people, but you have meetings once a week. They're very important to attend, especially when you do your ROI. If 30% of your business is coming, you're going to move your meetings around that meeting because
Yeah.
that's very important to you. When you do have those one-to-ones, those are your time to show others how you can shine and help them, but then you can teach them to be your sales force as well and different things to look for and listen for when they're out in the field. And you help them so they in return want to help you as well.
Excellent. That's fantastic and super helpful. So that's 30% of your business, and it sounds like the majority of the rest of the business comes from realtor referrals.
Correct, correct.
So would you mind sharing with us just how do you attract realtors into the business? And then once you have realtors sending you referrals, what are you doing to maintain that relationship and get as many referrals as possible?
So in the beginning, like a lot of loan officers, I was doing a lot of hard deals to show my worth per se. But I think that that really does help build your following as well. I have, over the years, it's kind of fun sometimes when someone's turned down like two or three places and then all of a sudden you close it no problem. So I've become kind of known that way, but now they don't necessarily send the business elsewhere in the beginning. It comes directly to me, but it took me a little while to show them that way. But really, I started teaching CE classes to realtors too to
Hmm.
bring added value to them. Most realtors have to take continuing education of some sort. They have so many elective hours they need to take too. So when you get in front of them, they're in front of you for 3 hours. You become the expert in teaching them different things that could help their business grow. And in return, they feel like, oh, I can trust her. I can send my business to her. I know she'll take care of my clients. And she, is working hard to make sure that my clients get to the finish line. Because a lot of people, they want that relationship that they know their clients are taken care of. It may be a little different sometimes for an online lender or a bank. Here in Austin market, they don't take a lot of online lenders or bank offers. So it makes it really nice for the local lender because they're really picky about who, in the multiple offer situation, who they're taking their offer from.
Huh, that is really neat. So CE classes, just to touch on that very briefly, how do you apply to teach a CE class? What does that process look like for somebody who wanted to potentially get approved to teach CE in their area?
Well, here in Texas, you apply with TREC and there's an application fee. You fill out the application and submit the money. Here in Austin, I went and talked to the real estate school and asked permission to, is there a way I can teach some classes here at your school? And they said, yeah, we're looking for teachers all the time. So I would encourage people to go to maybe some of the local schools even, or get with their title companies and see if they can be added to the rotation as well. Because when you do it that way, you don't necessarily have to do all the legwork to fill the classes. They fill them for you. You just show up and teach and follow up.
That's amazing. So you're going out and you're talking to the title companies and getting the title companies to basically endorse you as a CE teacher. And that way, the title company is actually the one promoting the event and filling the event for you.
Correct, correct. And I
That is
used to do it for builders as well, because I actually worked for a local builder here in town prior to moving over to the mortgage world. And they always like to bring realtors into their models and have, some kind of curriculum or give them a reason to be there. And so CE classes was one of those things. So I would go to a couple different communities and teach for them.
that is amazing. So new builder partnerships as well as a reason to get realtors into the homes, and they can obviously gets on their radar so that they can use that as an option for their clients.
Exactly, exactly. They're always trying to build value as well.
Now, what about like the owners of the brokerages themselves? Are they also somebody that will advocate for you to fill a CE class, or have you ever
Yeah,
done that?
absolutely. I actually just got an email from a guy that I had taught like 2 years ago, and he's wanting to get pre-approved himself, but he's like, we're looking for people to come in and teach again. Would you be interested? And I said, yes, absolutely. Get me on the rotation. And so he's gonna email me a couple times, and I'll get back out in that world since it's been a little bit with COVID.
Absolutely. Now, what about so you go in, you teach the CE class. Is there a follow-up process that you do after the class to keep in touch with the agents and convert the business? What does that look like?
Yeah, so you want to have either a marketing person or an intern or someone, because it's not always going to be easy for you to go follow up unless you have a small shop. But follow up with each person, thank them for coming to the class, let them know that you're there, and see if they want to set up a coffee meeting. We scrub them to see, what kind of production they do to do, kind of target who we want to make our meetings with.
Yep.
And then we send them just a thank you card for coming, a handwritten note. And then we also ask permission to keep them updated on upcoming classes and different marketing.
Fantastic. And so you're betting the people that are in the room. You know who the producers are that are in the room. They're the ones that get the coffee appointment request. You go out, you do the coffee appointment, and that starts the referral relationship.
Yes. And I think too, I mean, if you have the ability and you feel like I take notes during the class to kind of see who's paying the most attention, what kind of questions are being asked, because there's been a couple realtors that were brand new to the business, but I worked with them and kind of mentored them up, and two of them were up for Rookie of the Year here in our market, which was huge. So I think I wouldn't just discount anyone either, because if someone has that desire and that grit within and that passion, they might supersede anyone else. They just didn't have the experience yet.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That's fantastic. Now, when you go into a coffee appointment with an agent, do you have a set process that you go through in the meeting to try and win the business? Are you more conversational about it? Like when you go into a meeting with a real estate agent, what's your approach to winning the business in that conversation?
I frog them, like Carl would say, or talk about them. I also coach some of my coaching clients too, and I'm like, because a lot of people tend to just throw up all over them all the things they can do for them. But what if they don't want that? I love listening to those phone calls sometimes with people, like they're telling me all the things I need, and I'm like, I didn't ask for any of those things, so I don't think we're going to be good partners here.
Yep.
So I sit and listen to see, what is going on in their world, what makes them who they are, what is their passion. Like, is their passion to grow their business, or is their passion to balance things out? Because we can help them in any way. And once we add that value, they're going to remember that, and they're going to want to send their clients to you.
Yep. That's so true. And oftentimes, you know, we'll see lesser experienced loan officers coming in and thinking about it's the products or that unique thing that they've got in the marketplace that's going to make the realtor just jump up. And at the end of the day, if you just make a personal connection to that person and listen and wait for that one thing where they'll ask you, be like, hey, do you know anything about this? And it's like, either you do or you don't. If you don't, it's like I don't, but I will, and I'll let you know. It's that's fantastic advice.
I
It's all
rarely will talk about what I do until either they ask, or meeting two or three, I might, bring up some things or ask them if there was any obstacles they ran into on their last couple transactions. But I say it in a way where I'm like doing some market research, not to make them feel like they're throwing someone under the bus or anything like that either, because really we're always trying to better ourselves, and we want them to know that we're always trying to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that approach so much more than here's this widget or I'll buy your leads or yeah, I'll pay for your Zillow leads or whatever because uh, then you're just transactionally connected
Mhm.
and that is not a long-term relationship. Then you're only as good as the next offer that they get. But the way that you're going about it, you're truly building those relationships and building that long-term success, which is why I think you've got such an incredible stable of partners that are sending you business now.
Yes, yeah. And I think too, a lot of our realtor partners don't realize too, if they're signing up Zillow with someone, that money's coming from somewhere. So your client is not getting the best deal necessarily, because they have to cover the cost somewhere. And so once you educate them and explain to them how that works, they're less likely to ask for money, honestly. You can help them grow in other strategic ways.
That right there is a huge counter and a huge tip for our listeners on how to get around that conversation. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. No, I mean, if they truly desire to help their clients and want their clients to have the best terms, the best rates, the best fees, then it's not by asking for a handout.
Yeah.
You can help them in other ways.
Yeah, that's so true. So, Katie, the market is changing a little bit, and you're very stable with the way that you've built your business with Realtor referral partners, and it's amazing. But if you had somebody that was looking at the market changes and feeling a little bit uneasy, what advice would you give them? What would you say to those other loan officers that are in the marketplace about your strategy moving forward?
It's really important to get back to the basics, because people get comfortable, and for the last couple of years, it's been crazy. I mean, you really, I mean, the phone was ringing and they were coming at you all which way. But the importance is to be able to reach out to those people and get back to the basics, making your phone calls, setting up your appointments, lead conversion. It's important to remember the basics, because when you're so busy, you tend to kind of forget those things, but that's most important. My coaching clients that I coach, they have to send me their activities each week, even if they haven't done it, because it's that repetition, them paying attention to the numbers, because when you pay attention to the numbers, you know where you can improve.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then you can't improve as much or effectively either. So it's just getting back to the basics and remembering that, talking to people, getting out and being around people. I think with COVID, a lot of us were very sheltered as well. So it's important to remember to get out and talk to people. And, my daughter told me the other day, "Hey, mom, my teacher's buying a house. Can't you help her with that?" Like, she's 10. I'm like, "Yes, I can. Why don't you bring my business card to school?" So even your loved ones, your families, reminding them of how much you love doing what you do and how you can help people get into a better place.
That is amazing and incredible, incredible advice. Now, Katie, you mentioned that you're coaching, and I'm sure there are loan officers that might be listening to this episode saying, like, how do I get into that coaching, or how do I potentially work at that branch? So, tell us a little bit about that coaching, but also how do people get a hold of you? How do people reach out?
Well, yeah, they can reach out by phone number or email, I'm sure, which you'll have on the show notes.
Yeah,
I am part of the Freedom Club, obviously, and I'm also part of Fairway, and we have a coaching platform within as well. And then I brought on a couple loan officers recently and coaching them as well. It's
that
my passion for helping others. Like, I love seeing people like double their numbers, triple their numbers, because Carl helped do that with me and my wonderful coaches there. So if I can help others do that, it's
That is amazing. And as you said, all of the information on how to reach out will be in the show notes for the podcast. Katie, again, thank you so much for spending time with us here today. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Hey, it's Chris Johnstone. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. I hope that you loved it and got incredible value from it. Right now, it's time to head on over to iTunes and leave your 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode. When you do, you will be entered into our monthly draw to receive an Amazon gift card. So go ahead, leave that review today. It also helps us attract top talent and really get incredible interviews lined up for you so that we can share even more value for you. Now, for the show notes and for all of the resources that were mentioned in this episode, you can head on over to loanofficerwealth.com. That's loanofficerwealth.com. You get access to all the show notes from all the episodes, all the past episodes, get notified of new episodes when they drop, and we've also got some very special bonuses for you over on that page when you opt in. So head on over and opt in today, and we look forward to sharing the next episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast with you soon.